Jillian writes, "Hey Chris, what was it like auditioning for The Voice?" I'm gonna tell you all about it in a second because it's Shack Talk Tuesday, baby.
Blah, blah, blah.
It is indeed Shack Talk Tuesday where I answer one of your questions, so make sure and leave me a question for next time in the comment section below. So I did attend The Voice audition this past weekend. It was in Los Angeles, and I want to tell you guys, I want to give you the logistics of just walking through the whole process and also kind of my take on it. So if you're going to audition in the future, perhaps this video can help you, give you a little insight into what to expect, and even maybe help you out with the decision of whether or not this is for you. Okay, so my audition again was in Los Angeles. It was a 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a Saturday. I drove from Arizona to Los Angeles with some friends to be there. Got to the audition about 1 o'clock, was there an hour early. There was already a billion people there. I don't know the exact numbers. I would say there was close to a couple thousand people probably that tried out for this thing. And the first thing, it was at the Los Angeles Convention Center right next to Staples, where they've, you know, have just all sorts of crazy events and concerts and things that you've seen, no doubt. But you start out in this, for lack of a better word, it's like a yard. There's this outdoor area, huge outdoor area, and everyone is kind of lined up in this crazy circular formation that eventually leads to a door. And we're all out there for about, I would say it was a good 45 minutes before they let us in. And there were all different types of people. We're talking, there were all ages, lots of different looks and styles. Some people were dressed up. Some people looked like they just rolled out of the sack. Some people were somewhere in the middle. I'll get to that later as to how I think you should dress that would work best for you, but basically all types of people there. So we wait in this yard for about 45 minutes, everyone's hanging out. They finally let us in. When they let us in, kind of like being going through an airport. You're going through airport security. You go through this line and they ask you, they go through your bags and stuff. And they ask you, you know, if you have a pocket knife or anything like that. And just as a side note, it is a good idea to bring a bag that has a bottled water in it and some snacks. They do sell that stuff there, but just bring it because you're going to need it. You're going to be waiting around for a long time and you don't want to be all famished and, you know, dehydrated. So you go through this airport security type thing. Then we all end up in this big, huge auditorium-sized room where we waited around for, I would say, another good solid hour and a half, if not two-ish. And not much happened. There was a couple of updates, etc. They were just checking people in, getting them through. Tons of folk, lots of excitement, people singing in various spots, etc. After that then we were brought down a hallway and brought into another big size room where we sat down again, except this room actually had a section where they were selling bottled water and fruit and sandwiches and stuff. And bathrooms are all over the place, so you don't have to worry about that. And we just, again, sat around, lots of anticipation, people taking pictures and some people breaking out in song. A real exciting environment and kind of nerve-wracking. The nerves kind of come in waves. You know, the process is so long that you're nervous at one point, and then 20 minutes later you're like, I'm over it. And then 20 minutes later you get nervous all over again, and it's just a horrible, you know, crazy eight. But so we waited in this room, and then at this point, they finally break us up into groups of 10, and they start leading us down these, this section of hallway, and we're actually led up to the audition rooms. There's all these rooms where they're having these auditions. Now at this point, everyone, the best way to describe it is it was kind of like being in an airplane during a really nasty storm. Everything became eerily quiet. Especially since everything up to this point is just loud. At this point, you've got people broken up into groups of 10, waiting in a hallway, knowing that they're about to audition, and it's just really quiet, really silent. There's people rehearsing their lyrics under their breath, maybe running a warm-up, you know, doing their little mantras, praying, whatever it is that works for them, they're doing it, and it's just pretty quiet. The staff, I will, as a side note again, the staff through this whole process, very nice. It's almost like being at Disneyland. They're all, you know, nothing but smiles, happy people, joking around, treating everyone nice. They're not rustling through you, like cattle and treating you like crap. These are some nice people. Everybody was nice. Up to a certain point. I'll tell you about that in a second. So, finally the time comes where my group is asked to go inside and audition. Now this room, the audition room, is about the size of a classroom. It is dimly lit. There's really nothing in the room except when you walk in. At the front of the room, you have an elongated table, and there's a judge, and this person is not actually a musical judge or a singing coach or anything. This is, we were told, one of the producers from the show. Okay, so one of the producers from the show is sitting behind a desk. She has a laptop in front of her, a notepad, bottled water, very sparse, just the basics, and there she is. Now, like I said, everybody's really nice up until this point, and I know everyone's had a different experience in their voice auditions, so this is just my experience. It doesn't mean this is how it always is. This person was very cordial and nice, but she also seemed kind of irritated, possibly like she had seen and heard, 10 billion people, and she was just kind of done. So she was a little more agitated, at least that was my take. She wasn't nearly as friendly as everyone leading up to that point, which made it a little bit more edgy for us competing, because it was like, she was just like, I gotta do this now. Whereas you're hoping it's gonna be somebody that's more welcoming and oh, hey, everybody relax, have a good time with it. It wasn't like that at all. It was kind of like, okay, here's what you gotta do. Let's get through it. So she's at the front of the room. In the middle of the room, maybe 10 or more feet away from her, is an X, duct tape X. That's where you stand to sing. On either side of that duct tape, on the left and right side of the room, there are 5 chairs, and that's where each of us sat. The 5 on this side, 5 on that side. In the back of the room, there's pretty much nothing, unless there was one lady there who was a mom of one of the contestants who was under 18. Which, by the way, you can't bring anybody with you to the audition. If you are over 18, you got to go through by yourself. They don't let anybody pass the front gates. So if you're under 18, yes, then you bring your parent with you or a guardian, and that's actually required. But for the rest of us, you're on your own. So we sit down and they give us the spiel about, listen, here's how it's going to work. You're going to sing a verse and a chorus, and then the judge explains, if I hold up my hand, I need you to stop. But she's like, I'll pretty much let you sing a verse and a chorus, and then just keep it simple. And that's it. So they call us up one by one. You stand on a little piece of tape. I won't lie, it's a fairly intimidating environment, and I don't know what your experience is musically, but I've played tons of stuff on stage where there's hundreds of people, sometimes even like 1,000 people I've done a show in front of. And personally, nothing was more frightening than this, where you're in front of a voice producer and then people on either side of you. And there's like I said, so there's like 14 people in the room or less. But it was just a tense environment, at least for me. Maybe for you, no big deal. For me, I'm much more comfortable on a stage singing in front of hundreds of people or more, rather than in a room with a few people. And believe me, I even practiced and trained for this. Thank God, because it made me more relaxed. But I was singing in front of people, family and friends. I would say, hey, just sit down on the couch and listen to me sing this song. I got to get used to singing in front of like a few people. So that helped a lot. But it was still nonetheless kind of a scary environment. But that's one of the reasons I personally did the whole audition, because I wanted to face something that made me uncomfortable so I could be more relaxed doing it. Don't know what your agenda is. That was mine. So anyway, we go through the whole audition process. She explains, all this stuff. You got to make it brief, keep it brief. So you get up there. She asked us very brief questions. What's your name? Where are you from? A couple people she might have asked something else like, oh, what do you... I don't know, I can't remember what she asked, but most of the people in the room, it was just simply, what's your name and where you're from. It was very quick. So then you go into your song. 6 of the 10 people in my group were actually, my phone's going off, were actually stopped. Again, they did get to sing a verse and a chorus, but then she held up her hand, thank you, and it was sort of a bummer because a couple of them were really getting into the song. They're doing this like really big power vocal acrobatic thing, and she's just like, thank you, okay. And you're like, yikes, whoa, cutting them off at their, you know, the pinnacle of their tune. But luckily, thank God, I wasn't one of the ones that was stopped. I actually got to sing my song all the way through, which was cool, which gave me the false impression that I might actually be advancing to the, get a call back through all this. But that was not the case. I didn't get called back. In fact, nobody got called back. There was one guy of the 10, and let me add that everybody in the room was flipping amazing. There was like one person that really wasn't ready to be there, and everybody else I thought was like, you know, people you'd see on American Idol, or they were all good, and I mean really good. But nobody got advanced to the next round. This one guy, she called up there and she asked him to sing. She was interested in him, it seemed, and she was like, sing something else for me. And he started singing a few bars or something, and she's like, no, don't do that. Sing something else. And then he sang something else, and then she pretty much dismissed him. So it was pretty obvious going through this process that they were looking for, they had a very narrow focus in terms of their agenda. They were looking for certain looks and sounds, and it didn't really matter how good you were if you didn't fit the casting agenda that they had. And again, this is a reality show. It's how it works. They're looking for certain types and characters, if you will. If you didn't fit that, you weren't gonna get moved on, and that's just how it works. And this, you know, this audition was proof of that, because like I said, everybody in the room was awesome. They were really good. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I kicked some butt, baby. I went in there and I nailed that sucker. I mean, I did the best that I could. You know, a couple parts I'm like, I could have done that better or whatever, but I gave it my all, and I really thought I did a great job. And I can't think of, oh, you know, if I would have done this, it might have worked out better if I'd have done that. I don't think there's anything else I could have done that would have like changed their mind. It was just, they're looking for certain types. You know, I don't know if you saw like on The Voice, I think it's The Voice UK, where they had the singing nun. And yeah, and she's a great singer. Not the greatest singer, a great singer, but one of the reasons I think she got on the show is because it's like this nun that sings. And it's like, that's different, you know? If you're flipping through the channels and you see a nun on The Voice, you're gonna stop because you're like, what's this? But if you flip through the channels and you see someone halfway normal looking, like me, you might not stop. Okay, so it's kind of how it works. It's like they're looking, I'm not saying you have to dress up in a crazy costume or something to get on the show. I'm saying if you have a unique look or vibe or sound, you have a better chance of getting on this show, because it's all about ratings, and they got to do something that catches people's attention. Which is one of the reasons I tried out, because I thought I have a different vocal sound. You know, I thought, well, that could kind of be my in. And I also have sort of an old school vibe. I'm like an old soul. And so I knew a lot of people would be singing like Jessie J and Katy Perry and Adele and stuff like that, you know, and then I blew in there singing, you know, Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head by B.J. Thomas from like the 70s. So, you know, but I was being me. I was being me, which leads me to my next point, which I want to pass on to you as far as advice for this. Just do you. Just be you. I think the best shot you have at getting on The Voice is if you just do that thing you do. Don't go in saying, I want to try to do what I think they want. It's not authentic, and I think what really works is something authentic. So just, my advice is be you, do what you do. I think, again, the show is really geared towards they're looking for certain things. Don't take it personal if you don't get picked. It really doesn't have anything to do with how good you are. I can say that now that I've gone through this process. It has nothing to do with how good you are. You can be, again, I saw a couple people in there that had amazing voices. We're talking like Mariah Carey voices that will just like, whoa, rip your head off, and you're like, that person is a star. But it wasn't what they wanted. And I think if they already have, you know, the Mariah Carey type person cast during the audition process, and then you come in doing a Mariah Carey type thing, you're not gonna get anywhere because it's already cast. And again, it doesn't have anything to do with you, it's just how it goes. As far as song choice, I would highly recommend don't do what I did unless that's your shtick. I would not do an old song. I would stick with something more current. that is pretty much more what they're looking for, and I think that'll get you further along. But again, if you're an old schooler, if you do, like I said, if you're the Dean Martin, Michael Bublé guy with the fedora, do that. Don't blow in there singing Andy Grammer or something that's not your thing, because you're just going to come off as fakey and trying to, you know, be somebody you're not. So do your thing. But if you do lean more towards a more current style and you can do a song that came out within the last year or so, you're going to fare much better, because I think that's pretty much what they're going for. But again, just my experience, doesn't mean it's true. If you got questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer it next time on Shack Talk Tuesday. I'll see you guys soon.